Alyssa Mercante, a woman who sadly does not need a lot of introduction, mainly because she is gunning very heavily for the title of the most hated person on the internet. A woman, a person that I genuinely refuse to talk about a lot, and unless it's a special occasion or a comment here and there. I do not dedicate a lot of videos on the case, and I only stick to what is happening with Smash JT and her lawsuit against him. However, we have had some recent development, both good and bad, and we are now going to discuss them. Greetings, ladies and gents, my name is Helzo the Bearded Balkan Blabbermouth and I am DiscussThing, and today we are going to be talking about the one, the only, the abhorrent, the horny Alyssa Mercante. She is the definition of why we need asylums, in my humble opinion. She is a poster child of every proportion that we need special places to host these people and to provide them with the care we need, because she does look and act as someone who does need special care and needs to be monitored for the time being, and also she needs to be turned off from the internet perpetually. However, we live in a modern world, everything is free, everything is allowed, and that's not going to happen. And when that's not going to happen, things are about to go wrong. And things have gotten wrong indeed, ladies and gents. And one of the most abhorrent things that can happen, in my opinion, when talking about internet privacy and protecting your personal data has come to pass, and it is from Alyssa Mercante and her team of lawyers who are waging a pseudo lawsuit against Smash JT, something that has no chance of winning again, in my humble opinion. However, they are a persistent little bunch. However, the thing in question that I am going to talk about, and yes, I am starting with the bad news first, is a doxing act that has happened in the past few days. This is from Grums. This was posted on April 19th, and he said they doxed every YouTuber they could in Alyssa's filing in the lawsuit against Smash JT, and including perhaps Rev says this. Why? These people have nothing to do with the lawsuit, and yes, they do not have anything to do with that lawsuit. Here's why. They wanted to dox, they wanted to put the info out in the public, and they wanted the sheen of legitimacy to do it by doing it through a lawsuit, finding very evil people. And we see here a snippet, a screenshot from the filing of the lawsuit from Alyssa Mercante's lawyers, and you can see that Toasty with the Mosty has been fully doxed. You see Rev says this, you see also Atreus as it was reviewed, and there are probably other. You also see 8-bit Eric, and those people were doxed. Not to mention that the YouTuber Nobody, who also decided to actually get ahead of the times and dox himself and review himself on Smash's stream, was also under attack. All of this came with a single purpose. It came with the purpose of just firing rapid shots against a lot of people who are in a way connected, or at least in a similar area of YouTube activity as Smash JT. Why? Because Alyssa Mercante is a cornered animal, ladies and gents. She is with her back against the wall. The law and everything is closing in on her, and she has nowhere to go. She has no way out. She doesn't have any excuses anymore. She doesn't have any support from anyone anymore. She is on her last strands of squares to move her own chess piece to. And this is very apparent when you see what she has started to do. This is from Nobody, who noticed something very peculiar, which is very connected to her lawsuit. This is something that she has had as a description for a very long time. Senior editor, and then you see what she writes here, feminist whore, and other stuff. And then we see that she has removed that from her bio, maybe because some people told her it would be smart to not have that same thing when you're trying to sue someone for calling you that same thing, even though you have admitted to being that same thing for a long time without any regret. In addition, you have this one walking to a restaurant shift and feeling 25 again. If you know, Asmongold did an absolute brutal takedown saying put the fries in the bag, Alyssa, and that's basically what would signal and would be remembered as the final words that were needed to just bring her down, and she just doesn't know it yet. And I have to be honest, this is not something that I do want to particularly talk about all the time, and that's why I have avoided it so much in the past. However, with that doxing situation, which I find completely abhorrent and completely illegal, and it should be illegal even under the guise of a legal lawsuit and trying to pass it as a legal action to support your case, it should be illegal to expose people like that on the internet. This is a real tangible danger that people have gone to great strides to protect themselves from, either by VPNs, by fake names, by anonymity, by masks, by virtual avatars, whatever. They are always trying to become and remain anonymous because of past instances that we know of where people have been doxxed and have tragically lost their lives, or other abhorrent stuff have happened to them through such an act. And doxing is a real threat, ladies and gents. It's not something harmless. It's not a prank. It is not anything remotely innocent to be doing. And I encourage you, spread that word that doxing is indeed not something to do. It should be thought, because I know that some people still think, it's fun, I'm gonna dox him, I'm gonna expose his real data, and he's going to become famous, and I'm gonna become famous for doxing him. And a lot of people do think that way. I'm sure that if anyone of my circle of people who know me, who have seen my videos, decides to dox me, they could easily. I'm not particularly over the top anonymous. I have taken steps to protect myself that are very good in my opinion. However, I, as anyone else, could be liable to something like this, and it could potentially be an issue. However, I'm not gonna let it be one, because I am transparent with my audience, and I am transparent with who I am. However, a lot of people do value their privacy in a manner that they don't want to expose themselves in any sort of way, and doing something like this is malicious. It might be dangerous to them, to their safety, to the safety of their close one. And Alyssa and her lawyers doing something like this should be subject of additional prosecution. But enough about this, enough about the bad stuff, and enough about what bad things she continues to do and just think she is unpunishable, because as it turns out, she is not. What we have here, ladies and gents, what we have here is probably one of the most brutal takedowns that I have seen when it comes to something like this legal dispute or a dispute over the internet as a whole. And of course, it comes from Smash JT, because he is the main target, as we all know, to her recent actions. However, something that she hasn't probably counted on is that Smash JT has a walking, talking berserker in his midst, and that berserker is an absolute beast when it comes to legal terms. And I'm talking about, of course, the none other than Ron Coleman. This is from SmashJT.com from 18 hours ago, and it says Alyssa Mercante's lawsuit just got nuked. Funny use of the word there, and I think it's very appropriate. He also continues, we filed a motion to dismiss Alyssa Mercante's frivolous lawsuit, citing her own tweets as self-defeating evidence. And we have talked about this before. A lot of YouTubers have talked about this, that all the evidence is there, all the receipts are there, She has openly talked about the things that she is complaining about, and she has proudly announced of being the things that she's now claiming other people are defamating her, or whatever the word is that. Smash starts with, my attorney Ron Coleman, the man, the legend, has formally submitted a motion to dismiss the lawsuit filed against me by former Kotaku editor, now turned waitress, Alyssa Mercante. The 18-page filing lays out in some seriously meticulous detail just how Mercante's case, spanning 5 counts, all rooted in defamation, isn't only legally baseless, but fatally flawed by many of her own public admissions. There is a note here: while we have covered the initial fees for Uncommon, if you wish to contribute additional assistance to the ongoing battle against Alyssa Mercante to fight back against her frivolous claims, please consider donating to the ongoing Give Send Go I have set up to assist throughout all of this madness. I will be linking this article and the Give Send Go down in the description below, so if you want to help Smash, additionally do go there and do support him in this. I will be doing the same. At the core of the lawsuit is alleging that a Mercante and a former sex worker online claims, which she argues have now led to harassment, emotional distress, and her apparent resignation from Kotaku. The resignation that she claimed it was a resignation, that it was turned out that she was probably fired, and then that she wasn't there, and it was such a mess that nobody actually knew at the time what was going on, even her, because her head is that much of a mess apparently. The problem: Mercante has proudly and publicly described herself using the same exact terms multiple times on social media. There is the full request for dismissal that I have open here. I still need to take the time and read through it. These are almost 20 pages of legal language that I just need a bit of time to process to, but you see some snippets, and we saw that snippet earlier in the video about her describing herself as this particular type of woman. You have this one: Happy International Horse Day, I used to be a cam girl, sex work is work. And I would agree, sex work is work. I have nothing against those works, and they are trying to earn money one way or another. Is it respectable work? Some say no, some say yes, some say who gives a fuck. But you admitting to that is exactly what we are talking about. You're admitting to being one and then crying that someone called you that. You are being a schizo here, and I'm saying that without any censorship because it is true. In addition, she has also done this on David Jaffe's stream, let us not forget that, when she said herself she was a cam girl without providing any context if it was a joke. We also see here that she publicly claimed this thing that I'm not going to read here, and did not provide any follow-up that she actually made a joke. She has so many damning evidence against her, and the funniest thing is that she is the one that provided that evidence. I cannot even comprehend the level that her mind works on. However, I would say that she needs to be studied professionally, and probably a psychological dissertation can be written on how she operates on a daily basis, because we have seen a lot of weird shit coming from her every single day. She basically jumps from one end to another in a matter of minutes, and she can go from leave me the fuck alone to I want to be platformed on your stream, and she did that on Smash's stream recently. She wanted to be put on that stream. Luckily that didn't happen, because I just can see what a shit show that would have been. Smash continued that Ron Coleman didn't stop there though. The motion then further argues that the court lacks personal jurisdiction over him, as he lives in California and operates there as well, while Mercante is over residing in New York. Simply accessing content on the internet in New York doesn't meet the threshold for minimum contacts under New York law, especially in defamation cases where the state explicitly carves out such claims for a long-arm jurisdiction. While Mercante and her lawyers have since attempted to dox other YouTubers in an effort to establish jurisdiction, the reality is all this boils down to is some embarrassing Keystone Cup litigation. So I'm going to stop reading from here, because this is an article that pretty much sums up what that woman has been doing for the past several months. And I must say something, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, she is a cornered animal. She is doing rapid fire in order to get something allegedly from someone, and apparently, most likely, in my opinion, to have someone mess up, do something that they shouldn't have done, or say something that they shouldn't have done, so she can use that as well. And I can understand why she thinks that this would help. However, that would not mask everything else that's going on with her case. She would not be able to escape this. That's something that she doesn't understand. She's not going to be able to escape this, and if the case does go to trial, then she would need to pay a lot more, because I don't see any way that this case could be a loss for Smash JT. Every shred of evidence that we have covered in this video alone should be enough to completely tell the judge, okay, don't bother me with stupid things. I'm not going to even bother with this. This should be the case, and I hope that this is the case. However, as I said, if by some reason this case does go to court and does move forward, I would gladly pay money to watch a webcam footage on that. But anyways, that's all I have to say for this video. Tell me in the comments down below, what do you think about this absolutely crazy situation that continues to go on? This should have been honestly over with months and months ago. However, some dogs apparently can't let go when they try to bite and tear through a concrete wall. Tell me what you think, what your thoughts are, what would the most likely outcome be in your opinion, and will that continue afterwards with her deranged behavior and her trying to pretty much get money from anywhere she can, any way she can. Click the like and subscribe button if you enjoyed this video. Click the join button if you want to support me on my career on YouTube becoming full-time. I have 3 tiers and they're all pretty awesome in my humble opinion. Thank you very much for watching. My name is LOLsuit. This was DiscussThing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers and stay fresh.